Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next one comes from the Deathbeat Official. It's very official. This was in response to finally I bought a Roland S1 tweak synth, prefer Roland R8 Mailbag. I did in November 2023. Now actually finally I bought a Roland S1 tweak synth was actually Gary, who is the Deathbeat, who is responding here. Anyway, I've got a bit more praise for the Roland this month. I'm very impressed with their updated JX-3P VST. Well, most of you know who watch the channel will know that it was Gary's JX-3P that I did a lot of work on last year. This is the upgraded version 2. It has an Arturia style interface that scales really nicely on my 4K screen. They've also added a new toolbar at the top which lets you switch between VU meters and waveform view. Assuming they are gradually updating their soft synths, it would be nice if they added this to each top of each instrument to be consistent. They've also improved the JX-3P interface by adding a printed matrix on the right of the machine as I found on the original hardware. I really like having that there. It's always what I used to navigate the synth and create sounds. As much as I love the boutique version, the fact that the matrix was not present somehow made it tricky for me to use. Anyway, I'm very impressed with version 2. I've upgraded and I'm hoping the SH101 will be next in line. Looking forward to meeting up. So I went up and met Gary just before Christmas. We sat down and had a beer and chewed lots of synth and general music making problems. So it was great to meet you, Gary, at that point. Anyway. It's really interesting to find somebody who is actually praising Roland sometimes. Anyway, great comment. Thanks a lot, Gary. Next comment or question comes from Jack and Jill Marley, 1988. And this was in response to, "Don't flap. We still use the Triton. Still a market for hardware." Mailbag I did in January 2023. And Richard writes, "The Yamaha Genios is more an arranger rather than a workstation. Although in late 2022 I did come very close to buying a used Yamaha Tyros 5, thinking it might be a great hardware alternative to Halon 6.7. Although my desperate decision was driven by my old computer starting to play up, but I have since bought another computer. To be honest, I have put buying a Yamaha arranger or synth on the back burner. I might reconsider I think he means 2025 or 2026. I might put it back to 2025 or 2026 if I still want one. But on the other hand, I shouldn't listen to those people who told me 20 years ago that my Casio CT700 sounds were mediocre at the end of the day, and that was just their opinion, not a fact, especially considering I'm a hobbyist rather than a musician, at least by that definition of what a musician is. But back in the day, a consumer level keyboard was more affordable for home use, and I completely agree with that. Another thing to consider with Steinberg software is their licensing and whether it should be worth rebuying Halon every time I have to buy a new computer. But we're talking over a decade down the line. But it's good to know that you can get the Yamaha Motif racks for under £1,000, as the Motif still sounds as good as it did today. and it's still great for anyone who's tight on space or money. I think if MIDI sequencing or playing as part of a band is more your thing, then the Yamaha Montage is a better choice than Genius. Richard. I think the lines between an arranger and a workstation have become more blurred over the last few years, if I'm honest. I think Yamaha have always had a fairly good finger on this market with the Tyros and now the Genius. Mind you, the latest version of the Genius was considerably out of my price range at the moment. I think it's coming about £5,000 in the UK. The arranger, the key to an arranger or workstation purchase is intended use of the keyboard you're buying. Simple as that. Many of the top current crop of composers and producers would probably pick a computer over physical hardware loaded with many virtual instruments. My view is always use equipment that gets the job done. That's always been my view, and I've said that many times on the channel. Use equipment that gets the job done, not necessarily it's the latest fad. Don't go with fads. Honestly, don't go with fads. If you've got a 10-year-old keyboard and that helps you write and record your music, well, what's wrong with a 10-year-old keyboard? Absolutely nothing. You do not need the latest whizzy bang thing from Yamaha, Korg, Roland or Oberheim or whoever. But you may need it for specific instances, and this is one of the things I always say. You know, when you're looking at what you need to do and how you need to do it, there are reasons why you may do things in a certain order. I've said on the channel quite often that I use the Kronos, and I'm not writing music at the moment because I'm not in the headspace for it. But quite often when I'm writing something, I will actually rough the track out onto the Kronos, or sometimes the Oasis if I've got the Oasis around. I will rough the track out and then shunt it to a DAW, because that works better for me from my workspace. You know, I'm doing it now. I don't want to keep mucking around with the computer. I'll rough it out, get the rough layout of what I want, and then move it to a DAW, and then start doing, finishing it up. But I don't record directly into a DAW straight away. That's just not how I work. Other people work in different ways, and as I say, go back to what I said a minute ago. Whatever gets the job done is what you should be using.